That's now. Welcome everyone back again to Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And today, with batch 3, the team in batch 3, we are in week 3. So, week 3, we're going to be talking basically on ISC2 examinations and training. So, like always, my name is Mr. Brian, and I'm your lead instructor for this 7 weeks boot program, which we started a couple of weeks ago for batch 3. So, like always, the program is sponsored by Cybersecurity ABC, Talent App, and each one Teach One Tech. So, without further ado, we will head on to the deal of today. ISC2 means Information System Certification Consortium. Actually, it's International System Certification Consortium. Okay, so they have a platform where they train cybersecurity aspirants, and they kind of made it mandatory, or they made it like a goal to train 1 million cybersecurity personnel. And luckily enough, you and everybody in this batch is going to be part of that 1 million trainees from ISC2, and of course participate and become a member of their community. Also, earn valuable certifications both in-house and both in-house and external international certificates being run by them. So, moving on, after the class, everybody is going to get. I'm going to be sharing a link on how to register for the program. Okay. Now the registration is simple, but yet a little bit uh, dicey in the way that you need to ensure that every detail you're putting in is the correct one and stays correct. We've had cases where someone made mistakes in filling in correct details or couldn't complete his registration, then he couldn't get any other link to continue. Even when he tries to get a new email, it still refers him back to the former one, which he doesn't have access to. So we make it a little bit, we sound it as a warning that anybody who is registering should do so in a timely and in a good way so that the person will not have mistakes along the road. So when you register, it's free. You're going to be, the registration process is on the link. You're going to find that out. It's free as of today. The examination also is free as of today. But when you go for the examination and you do not pass, then you might want to do a receipt. Receipting for the examination, that's when you will now find out the actual cost of the exam, which lingers around $199 thereabout. Nigerian currency should be around 200 and something thousand. And ISC2 is one of the lowest hanging fruit certification in cybersecurity. Okay, so when you register, you meet the official page, which is this, where you now go into your training modules. You get to find out the course objectives of the program. It says, after completing this course, you will be able to discuss the foundational concept of cybersecurity principles, recognize foundational security concepts of information assurance, also define risk management and risk management technology, and summarize the process. You also relate risk management to personal or professional practices. You'll be able to classify types of security controls. You'll be able to distinguish between policies, procedures, standards, regulations, and laws. While you also be able to demonstrate the relationship between and among governance elements. Then finally, you'll be able to, okay, in domain one, I think there are 8 domains in the program, in the training. Nana, welcome. I saw you just came in now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're just talking about the ISC2, which is the international, uh, what's it called again? Let's go back so you see it. International Information System Certification Consortium, which is ISC2. Many people call it ISC2 for short, but the full meaning is International Information System Certification. So after the today's class, the links for the registration will be shared with in the group. So you go follow the link dutifully and religiously and register. As of today, it is $000. But when you write your exam, hopefully you're going to pass the exam. But if you do not pass and you want a receipt, then you will get to pay for the exam, which, like I said, lingers around $199. It's an international body, and they are in the business of, or let me say, they have a vision to train 1 million cybersecurity personnel, and this batch and everyone else that is going to come in within their time range will be grateful enough to be trained by ISC2 while also having membership to their community and their network. So I think they have 8 domains that they taught in their training. Within this 1 week, this week you're expected to diligently go through the training and get yourself equipped more on basic foundations of cybersecurity. So these are most of the domains. They they're expatiated on 5 domains, but I'm going to touch a bit of them, then add extra 3 domain, which is going to help us during the examination. So they have what is called the code of ethics. So the code of ethics in ISC2 is that all information security professionals who are certified by ISC2 recognize that such certification is a privilege, okay, that must be both earned and maintained. In support of this principle, all members are required to commit to fully support this code of ethics. That's the code, in quote. So it's also to be noted that all members who intentionally or knowingly violate any provision of the code will be subject to action by a peer review panel, which may result in the revocation of the certification, no matter how much you paid for it. Then ISC2 members are obligated to follow the ethics compliance procedure upon observing any action by an ISC2 member that breaches the code. Failure to do so may be considered a breach to code pursuant to Canon 4. We're going to be seeing the canons down below. There are only 4 mandatory canons in the code. By necessity, such high-level guidance is not intended to be a substitute for ethical judgment of the profession. The code of ethics. Welcome, Micah. Good afternoon. You're a bit late.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning from your side.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right. So, going down, we were just trying to explain. Okay, now we have a clean environment. So, for those of us who will be taking or who has not yet gotten the IC2 certification of this. So it is an opportunity for them to use this avenue also because we captured it in our program to help people get along with relevant communities. So the Code of Ethics preamble says that the safety and welfare of society and the common good, duty to our principals and to each other requires that we adhere and be seen to adhere to the highest ethical standards of behavior, which calls to our emotions also to know that we are expected to uphold the good, okay, not knowingly going into doing the wrong things. Therefore, strict adherence to this code is a condition of certification. Yeah. Then the canons says that protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence, and the infrastructure. The second one is to act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. Then also we have to provide diligent and competent service to principals. Then finally, to advance and protect the profession. So, for those who are going to go into the program, the training, you diligently go through it. I think they have 5 domains here, but today we're going to be touching a few of them, then an additional 3, which will make the domains we're going to be talking about today 8. Okay, there is roll off. The first is security and risk management. So this domain covers the foundational concept of cybersecurity while including risk management, governance, laws, and ethics. That's basically what this particular domain, first one, the security and risk management, covers. While it focuses on maintaining security policies, business continuity, and ensuring compliance with legal regulations. Okay, can someone tell me what it means by what does business continuity mean in the aspect of cybersecurity in a layman's term, or possibly what you understand by business continuity? How does uh, how does it relate to cybersecurity? Okay, Micah, you go.
That simply means that if your business or your organization were to experience any sort of attack, this significantly disrupt your operations. So it relates to business operations, your ability to continue to provide your services
Hmm.
despite the attack.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you very much. Being able to still continue or stay in business even when attack hits. So this domain, security and risk management, um, buttress down on some of those factors and the things we need to find out. And we have some use cases here. Risk assessment use case. We say a company evaluates potential risk before launching new software, and it's expected that companies do this also. They have to evaluate potential risk of the products that they, or the softwares that they want to build, so that they could identify threats or threats like malwares or data breaches and create an easy and faster plan to mitigate this risk. There will always be risks, so the turning point will be to mitigate them and also to avert them at best cost. So the compliance management, a healthcare company ensures compliance with HIPAA to protect patient record or the relevant bodies that protect that enforces a patient record protection. So this is under compliance management. Then finally, under risk security policies, organizations enforce password policies that require users to change passwords regularly to minimize unauthorized access. Not just to change them, but also to uphold what's it called, effective standard password uh, setting. So not just your bet, what's it called, your bet name. Some people use their bets. year as their ATM card. So most of those uh, uh, weak passwords and weak setups exposes both the company and individuals to risk. So practically, you could imagine you are securing your home network, Wi-Fi network. You set strong passwords. You enable encryption under the WPA tray, and also you restrict access to only trusted devices, which mitigates the risk of unauthorized access. Okay, during this program, we will have, I think towards week 4, we'll be doing home lab setup and doing some running some scannings around our network to see what we could find around there. Okay, moving on to asset security. Asset security, this domain involves the protection of information and assets through proper classification and handling. Emphasis on classification and handling. It includes secure storage, encryption, and proper data destruction when necessary. And the use cases we have data under data classification. A company categorizes data as confidential or public to determine the appropriate level of protection needed for it, which is very vital. Not every data out there has the same worth or significance. Not all data there does. So I think during my trainings with during our class on SOC, we are exposed to the fact that there are some um, informations that are when you're trying to secure them, you value them under qualitative or quantitative, especially when they are lost and you're trying to recover them. So their costing will be valued based on uh, qualitatively or quantitatively. So one of those has to do with financials. Okay, will this document that is lost, is it financially going to affect the industry? Then is it just documentary what's it called, data? What I mean by documentary data is, let's say for instance, a company who has his data like staff, their visions, how they've migrated from year 1 to year 10, and where all those documentations are, it has been what's it called, breached, and they're looking to get it back. So the cost of getting it back compared to data sheet that has customers database, financial details, the both will are not, the cost of getting retrieving both are not the same. So qualitatively, the data that are under what's it called, documentation, while quantitatively the ones that are related to finances, that affect the finances of the company. I think which do you think is qualitatively and which do you think is qualitatively? Can anyone help me out with that based on the analysis I gave now? Which of them is qualitative and the other is quantitative when you are analyzing the two analyses I gave now? One of the data is documentations of the company from time past till date, and the other is customer database, sales database, stuffs that has to do with the financials. Can anyone give it a try? Student or whoever is trying to take this, when connecting to public Wi-Fi, users should be able to use VPN to secure their communication and protect sensitive information from being intercepted. Okay. The next domain is identity and access management. This domain involves managing users' identities and controlling access to resources. Most times, more importantly, those who work with Microsoft Azure and AWS, those people who specifically work under identity and access management, this domain is very, very important to them because, as you could see, it involves issuing and creating and controlling access to resources, who goes where, who accesses what, and how they go about it. It ensures that users are properly authenticated and authorized to access systems based on their role and privileges. Under the use cases, multi-factor authentication. Employees use both passwords and a fingerprint to scan to access sensitive financial systems, enhancing security. It is very, very much important to ensure that MFA is in place. With the company I work with, also a cybersecurity company, they've gone ahead of MFA. So now they implement, what's it called again? AI, I've forgotten the name, but the system works like very, very smart. You see what the spider does to its prey. That's what this solution does to malwares or stuffs like that. So it intercepts malwares and wraps them up like cocoons. Now takes off their intelligence from them. They can't go back. They can't go front. They can't call back home. So the threat actor stays forever waiting for responses. He doesn't get responses because the messenger he sent into the system has been trapped and wiped off the memory. So how this happens logically is the AI encrypts the malware, and once it encrypts it, on entering from the input side, for example, trying to get into the database, so you're coming in from the input of the web server or the website or whatever. As you are coming in, whatever goes into the form gets encrypted, whatever it is. Only when it reaches back to the database, now it gets decrypted. And for it to get decrypted, it gets decrypted in, I think, in a sandbox. So only the right things are passed to the database. So you see, the malware gets hijacked on the road, gets encrypted, and once it gets encrypted, it loses its form, it loses its ideas, whatever it is, the mission. It can't call back home. Thereby, it cannot properly set command and control, and the what's it called? The plan fails. It fails, and also they are going a step higher. The company is going a step higher to ensure that the step one, which is recognize, how do I pronounce that? Recognizes. I've always had issues with that pronunciation. Someone should pronounce it for me, please. That's the first step in gathering information. Recognizes or something. So information is open out there in the wide. For example, you go to Google, you could search, or you go to deep web, you could search. But if you could take away the element of search in such a way that you only get results that you are permitted to get, then step one fails. If step one fails, step two, which is using those information you get to weaponize them, cannot work. So how do they do that? For example, I want to share a data sheet with you, and this data sheet has the name, vital information, the PIDs of users, their information, their data, their key codes, their whatever. So this set of security can encrypt row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and only leaves first name or row, any row that you want to leave open, any row or column you want to leave open or visible, then you could share it right on Google Drive. So you don't even need to go out of Google Drive to go to. So when you share a sensitive document or data with someone, you could encrypt the parts that you don't want him to see. And once it's encrypted, the only person that gets to decrypt it is still you. So, Micah, tell me, what do you think about this type of technology? What kind of use cases do you foresee it in the future? Is it going to have any positive impact in the way data is being shared across the universe in the coming future?
I didn't fully understand what you said there.
Okay,
I Let me just rephrase
okay.
just to be sure. You said there was a technology that you became aware of that could release information, encrypt certain role. I'm not 100% sure
Okay.
how you explained it.
Okay, so let me just reiterate a bit. For example, you have an Excel data sheet that has customers' information in it, including their full name, address, verification numbers, etc. And possibly someone needs to get a staff under your office needs just the first names. He needs to get the names so he could use the names and match it to another document. Now, this technology encrypts rows and columns of data sheets of informations of anything. So you could encrypt the rest of the document under their rows and columns and leave only the rows or the column of the user, the first name or even the last name, depending on how you want to do. So the technology is flexible in such a way that it keeps information safe to to the detail. So I was just asking, do you guys think this information has a place in the nearest future, as far as cybersecurity is concerned, and the way things are going uh, in the world today?
Personally, I think it will become very relevant, especially when we're dealing with. It depends on the assets we're talking about here.
Hmm.
Uh, when we talk about role-based
Yeah.
control
Yes.
or access. So you only getting access to information that you truly need. That's what the concept is all about,
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong. So it will
Yes.
become very important depending on the organization, the position of the person, who needs to access what information. So just to restrict access, I think it will become very relevant in the future.
Yeah. Now, see where the magic happens is when it's being made public, not just an organization. You go to Google to search for, let's say I want to search for Nana, and I type in Nana's full name, and the only thing that comes out is Nana's full name and other encrypted details about her. So you got to connect with Nana to get access from her to see the other part of her details that are hitherto monetized, because that's what the market has done. They monetize our details and sell our informations, even though they don't get the users any feedback about it. So is kind of a business perspective, but I believe that if the company sees through it to push it out public, it will see and help and limit the first stage, which is the first stage in an attack is search, information gathering. If information gathering is restricted, then uh, a good percentage of attacks will have been restricted. So let's go ahead. The next domain is and testing. This domain focuses on evaluating the security posture of systems through assessment, testing, and audit. It includes vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and continuous monitoring. And we have some of the use cases below. Penetration testing. This a cybersecurity team tests an organization's defenses by simulating cyber attacks to uncover vulnerabilities. Okay. While vulnerability scanning also gets to involves automated tools that are used to identify weak points in networks or software that could be exploited by hackers. Now, if we are to practicalize this, using free tools like Nmap, beginners can scan their home network for potential vulnerabilities, ensuring that all devices are properly secured and ensure that any ports that are opened here and there in your network uh, should be closed properly. I think this is in our practical. We're going to be doing this in our practical. Is included in the practical. Home lab setup, network scanning and mapping, port scanning, all those things. So the seventh one is security operations. Okay. Now, definition: this domain involves the day-to-day tasks required to keep an organization's assets secure, which includes incident response. This domain includes incident response, disaster recovery, and maintaining the operational security of information systems. We already know what the job roles of the security operation guys does. So in this domain, some of the use cases we have disaster recovery. After a cyber attack, a company uses its backup systems to restore critical data and operations. It's always advisable to have backup systems and, of course, to keep them up to date. Then the next one, incident response. The cybersecurity team detects a phishing attack and quickly responds by blocking malicious IPs and quarantining affected systems that are in the network. Practically, you could develop a basic incident response plan for your personal devices that can help you react quickly if they are compromised, such as knowing how to change your passwords, get to your network providers, restrict access to some level, even disconnecting from the internet. I could remember when I lost my phone. Uh, what I did immediately was to get a second phone, log into my email address, and change the password, meaning that no, if you send, if the former device is being used, cannot be used for authentication because it will now request for new email address. So while I did that, I called my network provider to let them know that my line has been compromised. Also, I reached out to the bank. So some of these things are uh, things you could do, like response plan, call a response plan for your personal belongings. So if you could have such mentality for your personal stuff, the same um, follows the order in organizations. Please also know if you have any question while we are going through these domains, you could just signal me so that we could talk about. Number eight, which I believe should be one of the last domains, is software development security. So this domain covers the security of software applications throughout their development lifecycle. It ensures that security is integrated into the design, coding, testing, and deployment of software. This is very, very important because if the builders build in flaws or weaknesses into the system, then the building is as good as vulnerable. So it's very, very important. This domain is important. Use cases, secure coding practices. Developers should follow guidelines to prevent common vulnerabilities like SQL injection or cross-site scripting in web applications. While when we're doing our practicals, we're going to see these come into play real time, where we're going to assess the vulnerability in a web application using SQL injections. And this is only possible mainly because the input system is not scrutinized, it's not put into security check. Anything goes in. So with anything going in, we inject payloads, payloads, SQL injections into the system, and we get responses from the system, thereby um, infiltrating that particular database. We're going to have that practical also, so you could know how these things happen and how better to, emphasize on the security when it comes to what's it called, organizational basis. Then also security testing in development. A company implements static analysis tools to automatically scan code for security flaws before deployment. So this is very, very important to scan and ensure that this product has passed at least. Uh, there are tools that rate the success or the cleanliness rate of a product. For example, you want to scan WhatsApp to know how secure it is. You can scan WhatsApp and know the vulnerabilities that WhatsApp has and the score rates it has on security. So some of those things are very, very important. Practical to do. A beginner learning about web development could practice writing neat codes that avoid vulnerabilities by using input validation. You see that input validation technique. Once is put in place in a web application or web server, it frustrates SQL injection and other injections that um, make use of or take what's it called, takes advantage of users database, especially SQL injection and others. So when there is input validation in place in a system, it prevents malicious input from being executed. Okay, we are almost wrapping up for the next class. Okay, before we talk about the next class, if you have any question on the domains, the way we on the light level that we've touched it, you could ask. So within the week, when you're going through the IC2 full program, for those that are going to be taking it, you will have more in-depth knowledge about them and also do the exercises which pushes you towards going for the exam. So, any questions, please?
My question was, it's not in respect to the way you explained it was great.
Okay.
It's did we get any assignment from last section? Because I saw the video I watched, but I did not truly see an assignment there. I was just wondering.
Okay, I can't remember. Probably I have to check the group for, because if there are assignments, I normally send them out in the group.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So for this week, this time around, we are going to be getting some of the tools that we need for our next classes. Because from here on, I think we are going into practicals, and this training is how many weeks? 7 weeks, right?
That is 12 weeks.
12. We've not had any session that lasted for 12 weeks. It should be 7.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, 7 weeks. So um, the first 3 weeks is normally dedicated for the theories and looking around. Then the fourth week, maybe if there are any follovers, but the remaining weeks are purely for practicals, to dos. Then those who have their exams take their exams, and it continues that way even after the program ends.